Welcome to the family with
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
Tevin Pittman.
Andy Brandt Bernard.
Kristen Burt.
Hey,
Kristen Burt. I love it. Kristen's on the show.
Kristen.
Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Burt, Entertainment News, brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. See, now I think it's really great, the thing that turned out, because every time I change something, I get these people coming up, would you kill someone? I was like, would you settle down?
What are you talking about?
Because Tevin and AJ were not on the new show yet. AJ works this time of the day with the guys at Score North, and it's the same thing. They do their show this time of day, so they can't be on. They think I guess they thought I killed Tevin because he wasn't on.
Yeah,
that
I
would've
thought
been in
about
the
like
news.
deactivating all my social media and like just disappearing to really play into the narrative.
Plant a false flag on your social media.
Why do people always want to think that something horrible happened and oh my God, it's just terrible? And why do they always want to think that's the case?
It's more fun.
Yeah, and I feel like that's always like anytime like a band breaks up or like a show ends. Or,
Yeah.
like, just then if a show gets canceled, they'll be like, oh, the stars behind the scenes hated each other, so everybody wants
Right.
like a juicy kind of story.
So everybody just calm down. I did try to get Kristen killed, but it didn't work.
Keeps on trying, like 13 years and
13,
counting.
13 years in, it all works out in the end. So, Kristen, I got to ask you a question. So, what is the name of that show we watched last night, Catherine?
I knew you were going to ask me.
And you can't remember either.
It's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock.
It's called
in
The
it? What's it
Hunting
about?
something.
What
What do you got, Andy?
who is in it and what's it about?
Well, it's about, so far, an underground prison with the worst of the worst prisoners, and somebody blew it up.
Yep.
And some of the prisoners
hunting
escaped.
party?
Hunting
Yes.
party. Yeah.
It was
Hunting
hunting
party.
something. I was like hunting shows, and all I was getting was killed
Oh,
ducks. And
it's in
I-
Cheyenne,
no, that's not what I
Wyoming.
want. Yeah, and it's in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which is
Yep.
where I was born.
Yeah.
And his birthplace.
Ah,
Have
I
you guys
lived on
seen the
Cheyenne
show?
Circle growing up. That's my
Really?
Cheyenne connection. Yeah, 5 Cheyenne Circle was my house.
Oh, there you go. So, have you guys seen the show yet?
It's
Not
brand
it's
new.
an NBC show. Yeah, NBC's had a lot of good mid-season shows coming in the last few weeks.
Wendy Rodewald, longtime listener.
She's
the one
phenomenal.
that told me that we should watch it, so I said I'd give it a shot. And yeah, there's 3 that are out now, and I don't know how many episodes there will be in this season, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great news. I mean, you mentioned 3 new shows to me. Do you think television has ever been better?
I think it's solid. The golden age was probably
Yeah.
about the last 5 to 8 years. We are
Okay.
seeing kind of a drop off in the amount of content that's coming out. Hopefully, they're investing in quality shows. We will see how this all plays out, but I think the struggles between the strike and the downturn in the economy, the loss of production in the United States, it is going to impact television and film.
But I mean, maybe now we can figure out that we have downturns in the economy because the people we have elected to office screw everything up they touch because they all want to make more money.
You just have to
We
stop.
will see how this all impacts. Yeah, there is going to be a change too, and I think that's interesting that whoever is in the White House often reflects what comes out of Hollywood as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we will see more faith-based films in the next few years.
Yeah, I
That market
bet.
is growing tremendously. We will also likely see comedy make a big comeback because there are a lot of people who don't love what's going on, and that's going to be the escape for people. So we'll probably see those 2 areas really expand in the next few years.
How about, since I turned 18 and could vote, how about the fact that I've never been comfortable with anybody who ever got elected? Is that a problem?
That's why you like mass murderer shows.
Wait, is he a true crime junkie and we don't even know it? Is he watching Dateline on his off time?
Oh, speaking of that, everybody got fired over there. How many people are getting fired from those news shows? My God.
Well,
Yeah.
NBC, this was not a surprise. We talked about this actually on the show probably maybe 6 months ago. NBC is completely restructuring. They are getting rid of some of their cable shows, and
Yeah.
MSNBC is a part of that. They are segregating everything. And with that reorganization is why we are seeing a lot of the big personalities also leave the show because you know what? Economic wise, now that it's being branched off from NBC, it's proper, the budgets aren't there.
So somebody like Tucker Carlson that got canned from his very, very lucrative contract.
Right.
And he went off, and now he's doing his own thing on whatever he's doing.
Podcast or something?
Does he make as much money or more not doing
doubt it.
that? How
He
does this work
won't.
for these big personalities that...
Good question. Don Lemon's probably another great example of that
Yeah,
off of
yep.
CNN.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be making the $25 million a year. Those days are over. And in fact, the reason Hoda Kotb left, or part of the reason, she talks about the family reason she left, but it was also the contract reason. NBC is like, hey, we'd love to keep you around on the Today Show, but your next contract, not going to be 25 million, going to be closer
Right.
to 15 million. And I think for her, she's like, I've got my money. Now let's just spend time with the kids. It became easy for her to leave.
Yeah.
But
really,
in
you
order
can
to
scoff at 15 million?
I know.
Yeah.
I wish I had $15 million
Like,
of scoff
you have
money.
to remember getting up at 2 a.m. every day, and then when you have little ones at home, I think
You never
that
see
she
them.
you never see them. And I
That's
think
true.
for her, that was probably an easy decision where she waited so long to have kids that she wants to enjoy them while she can.
I would
So
have given it another year or two.
take that
I have
money.
another 30 mil in my account. I think I could do that.
But what a lot of them are doing are leaning into TikTok or social media or streaming,
Right.
and they're able to control the content that they put out. So in areas of where they're able to talk about what they want to without being judged, well, they'll be judged by, the court of public opinion, of course, but in terms of studio executives or anything else like that can
Right.
sell merch, they can make a very lucrative, they can have a lucrative life. It's not going to be their $25 million lucrative life, but they should be able to pull in a few million.
Mm-hmm.
And the $25 million life comes with a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I
They
hope
get to
those.
work on their own
I hope they can
terms.
survive on $2 or $3 million a year.
Yeah.
It's
I know the poor
They
babies.
invested well, hopefully.
clean out
but-
there.
I
Yeah.
mean, after having 25 million or 30 million, though, 2 million probably that's your tax money.
Yeah, you adjust your lifestyle to where you're. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna feel it.
Hopefully you invested really well and you're just living off the interest at that point. I mean, I don't know because, and that's it. Are you living a $25 million lifestyle? That's going to be another thing because you may have to sell a house or two
Oh yeah.
at that
Poor
point.
babies.
I know. Well, it happened to Matt Lauer. Look he went from Today Show to nothing.
Yeah.
And he
Yep.
has had to sell some of his properties in order to just kind of downsize to live that, he still can live off of the money that he earned, but you can't have 5 properties any longer.
Yeah. Well,
5
do you really
properties.
need 5 properties? That's my question.
No, you don't.
Probably not. I was talking to Andy before the show started this morning, and that's why I love talking about this kind of stuff because I was asking him about, content and how everybody's reacting to it and all the rest of it. They don't want us to do too much sports on this show, which is, Sanseviere's enough anyway, whether he's talking sports or not, But yeah, they want content. I like to ask everybody, Andy, Devin, Kristen, Catherine and I already talked about this whole deal, but content now has totally changed. It's not so much on picking a side in politics. I mean, obviously, I do want to mention, as far as sports are concerned, that the Twins are on MLB Network again, playing the Yankees today at
Oh,
noon
no.
Central Time.
Hopefully they'll look better than the last time they played.
That's really nice.
The sing-songy voice.
But have you guys found that out? I'm talking basically because we talked about this with Andy and Catherine and me. But so, Kristen and Tevin, have you noticed that people don't want as much sports as they used to? They don't want as much. They just want conversation now. Do you find that to be true?
I find with my work, it's not about just doing like, okay, let's say a story happens. So I'll take Matthew Perry because he's on my list to talk about today. Matthew Perry, like his death. You don't just want us to say Matthew Perry died. He was on Friends. He had a great TV career. People want to know, like, they want the layers of like what happened. They want you to sort of unpeel
Yeah.
even and do a deep dive on the pop culture aspect of it instead of just the surface level. And it's why even a lot of shows like an Entertainment Tonight and, E! News, they've struggled because they just do the, hey, Matthew Perry passed away,
Fluffy.
fluffy stuff. They really want you to give your perspective or your insight on what happened.
Right.
And oftentimes those type of shows are not allowed to do that. And I think in going back to just what even Catherine was just talking about, like what does Don Lemon do and what does, Tucker Carlson do? They're able to give their perspective now in a way that they couldn't when they were on Fox News and CNN.
But I tell you, honest God, at the beginning of my career, which is 1 or 2 years ago, if you didn't do all the headlines and talk a lot about sports, nobody would listen to you. It was all headline news and sports. And it's not like that anymore, is it?
No, I don't think so. I think because people just don't want to argue anymore. And a lot of times, when
Yeah.
it's like politics and sports, like it involves a lot of arguing. Like, well, my team's better. No, your team's
Yeah,
better.
it's
It's
true.
like, well,
Well, I think you're wrong, Tevin.
Yeah, there you go.
For your information,
There you
my
go.
team is worse.
so it is nice to talk about, like, oh, I'm watching like Paradise, and you can go like, oh, yep, here's what I like about it, don't like about it, but it's not this
Sure.
like we're at each other's throats talking about mine versus yours. So I think that's the nice change of pace.
Yes.
I'm going to argue with you over Sterling K. Brown.
Sports does definitely breed animosity in a lot of people. And
It does.
sometimes it's like genuine, like, I can't be your friend because you're not,
Yeah.
you don't like my team versus your team or whatever. It's, yeah.
Well, maybe we're.
I don't know if the people are still like that so
Oh,
much.
yeah, very much so. Like I'll always joke, I'll
Here I
joke
was-
like, "Oh, you're a Packers fan? Like I can't be around you." But like I don't really care. Like, but then
Yeah.
there are people that are like, "Oh no, I will fight you." In the middle.
Boston fans will fight you.
It's interesting that you brought that up, Tevin, because I learned today. Did you tell me about Leave It to Beaver?
What did I tell you about Leave It to Beaver?
That apparently, whenever they mentioned football, they were huge Green Bay Packer fans
yeah.
on Leave It to Beaver. I never realized.
Supposedly, it was a Wisconsin town.
Yeah, they were in. I never knew they were in Wisconsin.
Yeah, they filmed it
Yeah.
in Studio City,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but there's like 4 or 5 hints throughout the whole series that place it in Wisconsin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Tevin?
I did not. The only show that I knew that was like based around Wisconsin was that '70s show because they like
Yeah.
because it was
That's a
in your,
great show.
yeah because it was
Yeah.
in your face.
They literally said "Hello, Wisconsin" at the beginning of every.
And they leaned into that accent too
Yep.
from
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
they did.
Well, as Midwesterners, we didn't hear it.
There's another.
We're just talking normal.
There's another cast. Where'd they all end up?
Uh,
I mean,
Oh yeah,
They're
that
all
was
dead now.
some of them had.
Some of them, yeah. I mean,
Are
you
they?
got
No, not all.
curly hair guy.
yeah. That he
had
wasn't
some
like the
issues.
child.
I think he was
stuff for
accused of
some assault?
sexually assaulting a woman or something.
Ooh.
I remember we watched.
The curly-haired guy.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I forget
Yeah.
his
What the hell
name
is his
was.
name?
Oh,
Right.
you're talking about the 70s show. I
Right.
thought you Leave to
Yeah.
Beaver. I'm like,
No.
they were guys?
Kid was like
Jerry
7 years
Mathis.
old.
Oh, Danny
Jerry
Masterson. I know this. I covered this
Yeah.
trial. Danny Masterson was convicted of 2 out of 3 rapes that he had been on trial for.
Oh, that's
Oh.
right.
Yeah,
That's
in
right.
the Church of Scientology, and I know we talked about this on the show at
Okay.
some
Yes.
point. Just really talking about the alleged, and I will say alleged out loud in the microphone because I do not want to hear from the Church of Scientology that they were harassing the victims too
Oh,
during
dear.
the trial.
Really?
Melissa and I got into
Allegedly.
the ranch, which he was on.
Mhm.
And I think sometime like mid-show, they just killed the character off, and he was just gone one day.
Yeah.
We were like, "What the hell? They just killed off one of the main characters. What's going on?" And it turned out that was why.
Who else was on that show? I can't even remember.
That's
the
Seven
Mila
name.
Kunis.
Ashton.
Oh, yeah.
Kunis.
She
She's
was
had a
She's
big
married to
career.
Ashton Kutcher. They've had their own drama too because they supported Danny Masterson and wrote letters of support.
That's
And when
right.
the judge released all the letters, as did Deborah Jo Rupp, who played the mother, and who was the father who played Red, Kurtwood
Oh.
Smith. He also did. They didn't get as much backlash, but Ashton and Mila certainly did because they support. They have a big charity that they've worked with in terms of anti-trafficking and things like that. So then
Well,
to
if
all
you
of a
don't
sudden,
know what somebody's doing, you
Yeah,
don't know.
technically
I
they
mean,
just know that, hey, he's a good guy. I know him from that show, and I guess don't put the cart before the horse. I guess is
Right.
the lesson.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Why don't we take a break here, Andy? Be back in just a couple of minutes. Tevin's in studio. Kristen Burt's in her own studio because she's, big shot in L.A.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying. We'll be right back right after this. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands free, but but you can't have your phone in your hand for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Ladies and gentlemen, South Dakota is one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and there's no better place to settle down and take advantage of those incentives than in Sioux Falls. As the state's largest city with a metro population over 290,000, Sioux Falls has low business costs with a high quality of life. There's no state, corporate, or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, no limits to what your business can achieve. Sioux Falls, South Dakota was recently ranked the #1 best small city for business and careers by Forbes, the #2 best state business, tax climate by the Tax Foundation, and the #5 top state for e-commerce by Nexus. As one of the Midwest's fastest growing cities, Sioux Falls has a robust growing job market. No matter where you're at in your career, we have an opportunity waiting for you. Our city's tax-friendly climate and strong workforce don't go unrecognized. Forbes named Sioux Falls one of the top small cities for business and careers, and that was each of the last 15 years, Pally. In 2020, Sioux Falls also ranked as the 4th best city, #4 best city for young professionals. How does South Dakota stack up against other states? We rank 2nd in the nation for the lowest cost of doing business, the most business-friendly state, and the best business tax climate. And as South Dakota's biggest city, Sioux Falls is at the center of these benefits. Now is a perfect time to make your move to Sioux Falls. Visit SiouxFallsDevelopment.com.
You're listening to the Tom Bernard podcast.
Oh, what a sweetheart. Here we go. Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We are, yes, child labor laws don't matter on this show because that was a 3-year-old Ethan doing the intro.
That was cute.
But by the way, just because you mentioned that, child labor laws are starting to spread across the nation. We have them here in California,
Yep.
but they're becoming a very big thing in terms of using your child on the internet. If you start doing ads and your child appears,
Sure.
California just passed the law, so it's enacted as of January 1st. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of family influencers that are using their kids have moved from California to Tennessee to skirt those laws because they don't want to pay and do like a Coogan account, which you take 15% and you put it away for your kids to skirt the laws. But eventually it's going to catch up on them because a lot like Utah is looking at it. Illinois has a law already. New York City's looking at a law, but interesting, right?
Yeah,
It
well,
is
because
interesting.
especially it seems like every parent nowadays has their kid has its own set IG
I know.
account, and then now we're making videos and funny, and I'm sure they're all monetizing their kids. So good for I think the U.S. for stepping in because somebody's got.
It's
Yeah.
because a lot of these children's videos and photos wind up on the dark web, especially if your child is in, and this is gross, but like your gymnastics leotard, your ballet tutu, your
Yeah.
swimsuit at the beach. There are just creepy people that are spreading your child's image across the dark web.
God, it's so amazing that they have to even do it. But so you better watch out, Andy. You better not pay Ethan because otherwise you'll be busting child labor laws.
He got
I have a
cookie in the
question.
juice box. He's good.
Andy.
Yeah, he gets paid plenty.
This is
Minnesota has one, by the way, for
Do they?
influencers. They do.
Yeah, I bet.
Why can't you encrypt an image?
You can, but then it's not an image anymore unless you know how to unencrypt it. I mean, it's like, okay, I put an image on Facebook. You can just print screen it. There's literally no way to stop someone from just downloading the image.
Yeah,
I think you should invent something that
It's not possible.
it has to be. Everything's possible.
because I thought so if you're like a photographer that's selling pictures and online, like you can set something up. I thought where if you screenshot it, it won't let you do the print image or screenshot.
There's
some way.
there's
to do
always
that.
ways around
Yeah.
it. The only real reliable way is to if you
Put
want to put something up on the internet, that means you're okay with someone taking it because
Hmm.
they're gonna.
Yeah.
And the other way is to put low quality, low resolution photos up there because then it's like, it's obvious that someone just snagged a thumbnail and is using it for their own purposes because then it'll just look crappy.
It makes total sense. Oh, by the way, I should mention, Andy, would you give us the phone numbers people can reach out to be either on the show or suggest things or whatever?
Our text line would be 612-361-6622. You can go to chatsy.com/Tom Bernard Show to chat. I'm always in there during the show. And our call-in line is 952-977-9381
So you can actually call in and be on the show.
if you really want to.
Well, that's kind of a negative thing to say.
And we reserve the right to hang up on
I
you.
got a lot going on over here, and phone calls are one more thing that I'd have to deal with, but
We'll be
that's
fine.
all right.
Don't worry about a thing. No question. I just saw this story that popped up. A 51-year-old guy in Hawaii named Gordon Cordero. You guys have heard that name yet?
Nope.
No.
I had neither. Gordon Cordero got out of prison on Friday after spending 30 years behind bars for a crime he did not commit. 30 years he got. And he served it all. He was convicted of killing a guy in 1994 over a drug deal gone bad, but he always maintained his innocence, and DNA evidence finally cleared him after 30 years in prison.
In
We've
Hawaii?
been using DNA for so long.
I know.
How did it
Yeah.
take that long?
I
No.
mean, DNA actually hasn't really been taken seriously for very long. I mean,
But after the OJ trial, it did.
Yeah.
during the OJ
Yeah.
trial, people thought DNA was basically voodoo.
But after that, when he
Yeah.
was eventually found not guilty, people are like, "Come on, he had a blood type of like 1 in 10 million."
I know.
So, after he's in prison for 30 years for something he didn't do, what is the first thing he did?
Like a
Eat a
cheese-
burger.
Yeah.
That's a good guess. One of the first things he did was go out for a steak dinner. So beef was involved, no question, which was a little different than the prison food he'd been eating. But he said the craziest thing he experienced so far is, I'm not used to it because everybody's looking at their phone.
He's going to have so much sad commentary about the state of society after
Yeah.
being away for 30 years.
Yep.
It is because he went away in '94, I think. No,
Oh.
'98.
98.
So it was before. I mean, just did texting even exist in '98? I don't think it
I
did.
don't think so.
Or if it did, it was like
98?
very.
It was that
uncommon.
T9 text where you'd have to like go,
Oh,
Yeah.
you
God.
know, remember that?
Yep.
He's out trying to like get back into his MySpace page
Mhm.
and things.
Yeah, there you
MySpace
go.
didn't even exist, I don't
Right
think.
there, no?
I don't know because it was Friendster before MySpace. And
90, MySpace was founded in 2003.
Oh, damn.
So wow, he
Oh,
didn't.
wow.
He was pre MySpace.
when was Friendster founded?
That probably was around then. Let's see.
I feel like it was
Friends,
a year or two earlier, maybe.
Because he was convicted in 94.
2002,
correct?
So
Okay.
he was pre Friendster as well.
Wow.
Honest to God.
Let's see.
Now
Top websites in 1998.
this is one of the great things.
Lycos.com, if you remember Lycos. I think that was that dog, right? Fetch the dog or whatever. No one?
No idea.
No
Well,
one.
Kevin, were you alive
was-
in 98?
I was 6 years old.
Okay. So you were
Was-
around, but
Yep. Not really paying attention.
yeah, no,
Okay.
it's mostly just like, eBay and Yahoo, that sort of thing. Yeah, he's probably gonna go home and try to search something on Yahoo, and he'd be like, "Wow, this sucks now."
Okay. Kristen and Catherine, KB1 and KB2 are going to start crying when I read the last line of this.
Oh, no.
He had never seen cell phone zombies because smartphones weren't a thing until 1994. Yet in 1994, excuse me. I misread that. Smartphones weren't a thing in 1994. We didn't even have flip phones until 96. He went home, and what was the first thing he found in his dresser drawer?
A flip phone.
Nope.
Ooh. I'm gonna say like a Walkman.
That's a good guess.
Yeah,
Any other guesses?
diary.
Yak back.
You ready to tear up? He went home, opened his dresser drawer, and found a beeper.
Oh,
Pager? Pager? God.
Oh my! That's how much of life this man missed, and he did nothing wrong.
I can't even begin to imagine just how like insane you would feel knowing you did nothing wrong and yet you're being locked up. That would
And
unbelievable.
you missed 30 years of your life. That's not fair.
That's
30
incredible.
years. It's a long time.
Sure
The
is.
closing line in this story is phenomenal. He told a reporter he got his first cell phone as soon as he got out on Friday, but he's not obsessed. He mainly thinks it's weird how messages always flood in because my phone will not stop beeping. You're not used to any of that. Any
He'll
of
be
it.
addicted by the end of next week.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Honest to God, it just welcome to 2025, Gordon. Compared to the 90s, it's and the question, better?
No, it's not.
How you're in prison for 30 years for something you know you didn't do. They finally proved you didn't do it. How much money do they have to give this guy for wrongful
Oh, I'm
conviction?
sure it's
not
going to be
much.
quite a bit.
I think
Yeah.
it's not
Millions.
as much as you'd think.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
painful.
there's have to and there's are going to, because those are two different things. Because I think every state has a law that's like you're entitled to so much money per year of imprisonment or whatever.
Yeah.
But
probably
a
right.
lot of the times they do a lawsuit and they end up getting much, much more than that.
Pain and suffering.
Well,
Yeah.
they should.
Yeah,
I
yep.
mean, they really should.
Yeah, he deserves that at least.
Yeah, you would think.
What a story. How sad. How would you like to be sitting here today going, God, I just got out of prison after 30 years for something I didn't even do. You ruined my life.
What I do when I was 8
Yeah.
must have been pretty
Yeah,
bad.
well,
then.
that would have been really bad when you were 8 years old. You're right.
Well,
No question about it.
there was a high school kid in Texas a few years back that he was like a high school standout about to go to college, had dreams of the NFL, and then was accused of child like molestation, and it happened to be somebody else that was in the house, but they went off like the testimony of these two like 5-6-year-old kids, and he did like 6 years or something like that, and missed out on his 20s essentially.
Yes.
And it turned out nothing, like he didn't do anything.
I can tell you
I-
the testimony of a child is useless.
I have a problem with testimony from a child. I really do. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, because
they
they
don't
don't
even
know-
know it's real. I
Yeah,
mean, half
yeah,
the
they have
time.
no
and they're
idea.
easily influenced.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean,
and this one they did exactly that. Like they asked the kid, like, "Well, was it this guy?" And the kid was just like, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever."
Well, yeah, they're
'Cause
going to
they
say
didn't
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
They didn't
Right.
understand kind of the gravity of it, and then
Yep.
they did a second interview, and the story's completely changed. And the officers were like, well, we're just going to go off the first one because we don't want to do any more."
I mean,
investigation."
obviously, you want to protect children against
Mhm.
being molested, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
That happened in like daycares. I feel like that was in the 80s
Yeah.
at some point. The kids were influenced and it didn't happen.
Yep. And then
But
there
then
was
it does
the,
happen a
and
lot.
then it does
all
happen
the
in-
time.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
yeah.
And so it's really hard. Or even look at the Duke lacrosse team. That was a huge case.
Yeah, it was huge.
And even though, they were eventually, obviously they were not guilty, it ruined their lives.
Right.
It just, there was never the same.
Do not say ruined our lives in front of my wife who's been with me for 45 years. Don't say ruined my life.
I don't get the
She's the
segue.
boss. She's doing fine.
I don't get the segue.
Yeah, well, some days you get the segue. It's like, oh my God, another year with this guy.
Well,
Kristen, you have to go on to your. Is this a good time to get you out? Am I getting you out on time,
Yeah,
or should
you're
I
doing
be
great.
earlier?
11
So you're-
o'clock. 11
you're
o'clock
okay.
is the time.
So you could be out by 11 o'clock. You're good to go.
9 a.m. my time.
Okay, you have any closing words then?
Just a couple thoughts. Matthew Perry, a Hollywood Tragedy is on Peacock tonight, talking about the
okay.
case, which goes to trial March 4th. September 5th, which is about the Munich terrorist attack on the Olympics. That's finally streaming on Paramount Plus as of today. And for those watching Paradise, it is the penultimate episode. So don't miss out on that on Hulu.
Penultimate. I love that.
Penultimate, because we like to use vocabulary words.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to talking tomorrow, sister.
All right, see you all tomorrow. Bye, Tevin.
Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Before you go to break, I got to ask you, how would that feel to get out of jail after 30 years for something you didn't? You ruined my life.
well, it depends on the payout.
That's
Well, yeah, you get out of jail, you get like $50 million, you can retire,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that would definitely soften the blow, but it still would be horrible.
30 years
Money doesn't
of your
fix
life.
everything, obviously.
Tevin, how old are you now?
32.
Yeah, so you'd be 2 years old when you went to prison. Get out today.
Yeah.
And like, especially like if you go to like if you were I was 18, did something dumb, and now you're in
Right.
prison, or especially even if you weren't, like if you didn't do anything dumb and you get thrown away, it's like those are like the prime years of your life, and it's just gone. Whereas maybe I don't know, you're like
Very few 18-year-olds go to prison for that long. I mean, don't they? I mean, do they? I
You
don't think-
basically have to commit first-degree murder. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even know if you get 30 years anymore for that, really, in most states.
In a lot of states, I don't think you do. Not at 18.
No.
As we go to break, I'm just going to read the headline, and maybe you'll feel better about the guy spending 30 years in prison for something he didn't even do. A woman had a Candy Crush addiction. What is Candy Crush? What is that?
It's a
little
cell
video
phone game.
It's a cell phone game.
It's
Kinda like-
it's how would
Tetris. It's like you got to match
Yeah.
stuff.
you got to
but
match
they-
the
colors
candy,
or
and then the
something?
candy goes away, and then
Oh,
there's more candy.
yeah.
You got to match the candy, and
Yeah, it's been around forever.
it's designed to be like a mindless thing you just do in your spare time.
Okay, do the companies know they're about to run into a big problem?
No?
A woman's Candy Crush addiction. She took it to court. She sued them, and she was awarded $215,000 in court.
Oh,
For what?
frivolous lawsuit.
who's her lawyer?
Because she can't control herself.
That's
She
what I
can't put
thought.
the phone down. It's their fault.
That's what I thought. But how many more people are going to sue them now because she won?
A lot.
Right. I got some video games I like to play. Let me call them up. And tell them
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna sue Square Enix. I've been playing Final Fantasy games for 30 years now. If that's not an addiction, I don't know what is.
You better sue, Andy. You better sue. Suing is a very big deal again. It comes and goes. They're suing, and then it kind of calms down for a while, and then it starts up again.
Well, I do think that they need to crack down on a lot of these frivolous lawsuits because
Yeah.
it clogs
Yeah.
up the courts for real stuff, and it's just a money grab. And I just think that should be looked at. I mean, yesterday I'm changing my car title to a Florida car title, so I have to get tabs and all this stuff. So I had to talk to the insurance company. And they said, well, do you want an umbrella policy? I said, oh, we've always had an umbrella policy, so I guess we should. And she ran through the scenarios, and she told us what the cost was. The cost for a $1 million umbrella policy in Minnesota is like $300 a year. Here it's like $1,000 something. And I said, why is it so much more expensive? And she said, have you seen all the billboards all over?
Oh, yeah.
This lawyer got me $3 million.
Yep. Oh,
This
God,
lawyer
yeah.
got me $5 million.
Yep.
She said Palm Beach County in particular they sue
Yep.
all the time for everything, and that is why we have to pay $1,000 here.
Isn't that amazing?
So thanks for all you charlatans out there.
Oh God,
Ooh, charlatan, that's a good word. We will take a break. Be right back. Chris Eggert will join us right after this.
I'm talking with my friends Michael Bilski and Brad Huckle of North American Banking Company. Guys, business owners have had to deal with a lot over the last few years, haven't they?
They sure have, Tommy. We pride ourselves on being able to help our customers with the challenges they face.
Our business bankers are experts and are always ready to help our customers capitalize on opportunities and solve problems.
Loan decisions come quickly because they're made here in the Twin Cities and not shipped out of state like at some of the national banks in town.
This allows our customers to expand their businesses with confidence, knowing that they have our team of experts in their corner.
Okay, so now you give me this big thing at the end. Way to go.
Well, you are the professional.
Oh, I forgot. Look, I know Brad and Mike, and I trust them with my banking. They've personally delivered on everything they've just said, so why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
MyPillow is excited to announce that they're having the first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 30% on their brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one that Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get the 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. The initial quantities, the initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And the best-selling standard MyPillow, just $14.98. To take advantage of the first ever mega sale, go to mypillow.com and use promo code TOM or call 800-516-5146. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule deal? Remember that? Well, that ship has sailed because right now every order ships absolutely free. I like that. Sounds like there's a train coming down the tracks, ladies and gentlemen.
So I have a clarification about the Candy Crush thing.
Okay.
I figured because Chris is on about the news, he'd appreciate it.
I do appreciate a good clarification, Andy. Thank you.
A good page 20 update. So she didn't actually go after the makers of Candy Crush. She went after the NHS, which is the British healthcare service. So what happened is she had Parkinson's, and they prescribed her a dopamine agonist, which is standard treatment for Parkinson's. And she says that because of that dopamine agonist, she became addicted to Candy Crush. So she got money from the NHS because she says they addicted her to video games.
Oh, the dopamine agonist is a gateway drug to Candy Crush.
I mean, dopamine agonists are associated with
In a nutshell.
addictive personalities because, I mean, they're basically like they're the reward pathway drug. So you take it, and it's the drug that makes you feel like, you know those people who sit there at slot machines for 20 hours a day? They're chasing dopamine. So you put a bunch of dopamine in your brain, and you're going to turn into that sort of person. So, I mean, it's not as frivolous, but I mean, it's like you have Parkinson's. What do you want them to do?
I got a question for Chris Eggert, because
Yes,
the
sir.
headline that I read, this is the headline. And of course, then it just changed the page. Of course, why wouldn't it? But it just basically said, a woman has sued Candy Crush
Yeah, not what happened.
and won $250,000. That's not what happened at all. So I read a headline that wasn't even true because of the way they printed it.
Well, now we're talking about it, so the headline worked.
Do
Yeah.
they teach that at news broadcaster school, Chris?
Well,
Yes, do they?
I will say we live in a clickbait world, and it's so bad right now that a flashy headline is it to get somebody there. And what if the story actually turns out to be even close to what it is that the headline is? Depending on the organization, I don't think anybody cares because they got you on their page in the first place. So I would like to think that more reputable organizations will keep those facts straight. But I mean, that's unfortunately the world we're in.
Yeah, I mean, if you read a woman's Candy Crush addiction won her $215,000 in court, it sounds like she won it from Candy Crush, right?
Well, now that I know what the backstory is because Andy found it, it technically sounds like it's right because it was the addiction to Candy Crush.
Yes.
It wasn't actually Candy Crush, but
Yeah, so I mean, but the way they wrote it, you would think that Candy Crush is the one that got sued.
well, because Candy Crush got you to click in the first place. That's my point.
Well,
If it
that's
said-
a good
if
point.
If it said woman's addiction to dopamine causes her to sue British Health Authority, nobody would read that.
No. But everybody goes, oh, I rember playing Candy Crush.
Yeah,
I used
Candy
to do that.
Crush.
Can I win some money? No.
Can I get some of that Candy Crush money?
Chris
Sorry,
Eggert,
no.
brought to you by Josh Arnold, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, there are so many headlines I want to run by you today. It's unbelievable. But I suppose you deal with this every day.
Let's go. Let's talk it out.
Alec Baldwin finally got fed up being confronted by a Trump impersonator. Do you know that story? I never even heard about
I
it.
saw
But
that.
that's hilarious because knowing what Alec's political leanings are, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. He's not exactly a Trump supporter. There's no
I
question
wouldn't think
about it.
so. No.
You know, a guy dressed up as Trump and like followed Alec Baldwin around pretending to be Trump. And he basically said that if there were no cameras here, I would kill you. Which
Well,
isn't the
he's probably
smartest
right.
thing to say when you just got exonerated for
Killing
Oh,
someone.
Alec
Second degree
Baldwin
murder?
said that?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's not good optics, as the kids say, as Tevin's age group says.
Yeah, not great optics, but also I feel like somewhat of inappropriate. Like, leave me alone.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's
Stop following.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. And I guess there's some expectation of privacy, right? Like, and he's like Mr. This was happening in New York, I assume.
Where was that? I
I
wonder.
believe it was in New York State. Well, although he moved, didn't he? Didn't Alec Baldwin move now? Maybe he
Oh,
did.
Canada,
I
I
like
don't
you
know.
said
Did
he
he
would.
flee the country?
Yeah, well, I think he had to sell one of his probably multiple houses because of his court stuff and things
Yeah.
like that. So, but I think he's still in New York.
Let's see. It was outside of his home. In New York City.
In New York City, so he's still
Alec
there.
Baldwin threatened to snap his neck. If the camera wasn't here, I'd snap your effing neck in half.
Wow, Alex.
Jeez, man.
Maybe you need some anger management classes.
I think it's
I don't
pretty
know.
funny,
You
actually.
might want to take it down a notch.
Who's the one that said, "Leave me alone, or I'll do some damage you won't walk away from"? That was a great quote too, man.
Pretty
Sounds like some
ballsy,
sort
yeah.
of mafia.
Well, if you know
Yeah,
what the
it does.
Trump impersonator said, I'm
What?
kind of on Alec's side in this one.
Okay.
He said, Alec, it's your favorite president. I'll give you a total pardon for murdering that woman if you kiss my ring.
come on, that's funny.
Let's say there are no good people in this story.
No.
No, there's nobody
Yeah,
good in that story.
I think I'm giving the asshole status to both of the people.
Yeah, I agree, but don't take the bait either.
Right.
Yeah, he took
Yeah.
the bait, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
But let's not forget this is a three-way deal because his wife Hillary now insists on be calling Ilaria, and she speaks with an accent that she never had before.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know
Yeah,
that?
remember that whole story that she
that
had
was-
I
been
missed
speaking
that one.
that she was misrepresenting herself as a Latina.
Yeah, Latina said she's not.
And
Oh, okay, I remember that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that's what I didn't know that's what her name was.
I don't know if I could.
Ilaria.
If you had a German accent our entire relationship, and then all of a sudden I found out that you really didn't have a German
Nine.
I don't know if the marriage would survive such a
No,
strange
that's
ruse.
very weird.
And especially
That's
with
like crazy.
Ilaria, she started without an accent, and then I think like
Right.
adopted it later in life. So it
She
wasn't
did, yeah.
like, it wasn't like, oh, I just
Was it
did this
like-
my entire life.
Was it,
but
was it like a PR thing that made him feel better about
I don't know.
his status in the world? I just don't. What? Why would you do this?
People are just insane. No question. How about local news, Chris? Any big headlines we should know about?
There's a meeting set for tonight to try to figure out what to do with the Kmart site on Nicollet
Oh,
and
Nicollet
Lake
Avenue.
Street.
Yeah.
It's been burned down and the site's been demolished, I think, for like a year now.
Mhm.
So the sometimes the wheels of progress turn a little slowly in the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I have a question.
We're having some more meetings.
So who was the mayor that got the little grift money for allowing them to block Nicollet Avenue anyway?
Well, I remember when this came up
Right.
last year, we talked about it, and I did kind of a deep dive on it. I don't know what the backstory was on corruption, but I do know that the development itself was a big deal when they built that there, and everyone had really high hopes for it. And yeah, the idea that Nicolet's blocked there, to me to this day, it's kind of insane how that works.
I know.
And you wonder, had that street been a through street, if that particular area wouldn't have sort of ended up going the way it has. I actually
Right.
really like that part of town, but that Kmart has always been a kind of a trouble spot just because it does make you kind of think about what would happen, how it could all be opened up in a different way. And
So I have to ask you something.
yes, sir.
Because Creative Audio used to be on that street, Nicollet Avenue,
Yep.
at about 27th, maybe something like that. And right across the street was the Black Forest Inn. Black Forest Inn's still there, isn't it? I think.
We went there a couple months ago, actually.
I
Yes.
love that place.
How'd that
Yep.
survive?
But as a young guy, maybe 30 years ago, recording all these national commercials and all that stuff, I must admit, I wandered over to Black Forest to have a cocktail with the producers more than once.
It's a cool spot.
It
Like,
is.
it's
I
a
love
really-
that place.
It's a great vibe, but honestly, when we were in there, it was very quiet. There was like nobody else in there, and it was like
Really?
me and my mom and stepdad. And my stepdad grew up eating authentic German food, so like
Oh,
we wanted
okay.
to go. And I'm like looking around on like this big, beautiful interior of this restaurant, and there's like
Yeah.
5 of us in there.
Yeah, that's bad.
I don't know how sustainable, and maybe it was just a bad night or a random night or something.
I hope so. Well, let me run another thing by you because I saw in the national news. Catherine brought it up last night, as a matter of fact, and I did text about it this morning. I sent out a message. It makes me really, really sad because I grew up in 2955 Russell, burned to the ground. Then we moved to 3015 Russell, and we had some real problems there as well. That house still exists. They never rebuilt the house. That house burned down, I believe, like 60 years ago. Wow. And there's still an empty lot there where 2955 was.
It sounds like the Kmart site.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole deal. And so we lived at 2955 Russell. Then we moved to 3015 Russell. Then we moved to 3115 Russell. And it sounds like a big, but it's only about one city block because 3015 and 3115 were on the same block.
Gotcha.
Catherine showed me a story from yesterday or a couple of days ago. 1 block away at 30th and Queen, there was a pipe and knife fight between 20 people.
20 kids.
Huh.
20 kids.
They were trying to run each other over with cars, even.
God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You know how sad that makes me? I mean, it was not a great area when I grew up there. And it just, well, the way I posted it was a sad place then. Now it's really, I mean, I could have looked out the front window at 2955 Russell and seen that knife and pipe fight. Because it's the short block. It's not a long block. When you go from Queen to Russell, it's a short block.
I'm gonna
It
check
would have
it out on
happened.
the Google
What-
Street View.
What do you got in? Oh, you got it?
I'm gonna look at the house here.
Is it illegal to have a super soaker filled with mace?
I don't
You
know.
could just put these fights down so fast if you
Yes.
could just
55 is
Super
empty.
soaker.
There is no property there.
Yeah, 2955 is empty still to this.
It's
And I
just
was
a yard.
I was 12 or 13 when that house burned to the ground. And I got to say this again because I don't think Chris and Tevin heard this one. The only thing in that house, that house burned, baby. The whole thing just got toasted.
Yep.
One thing in that house did not burn, wasn't even scorched. Do you know what it was?
I
A
do.
Bible, a cross.
You very good guess. It was the Last Supper picture my mother loved. It didn't. You could never tell that was in a fire.
Isn't that crazy when that happens?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no,
My
you're
mother, see, Tom, I told you.
And Tom said, well, Jesus could have done a better job.
Jesus, why didn't Jesus cover our ass in the fire? What about
Yeah.
that?
He just wanted to make sure his own stuff.
The
didn't
next
burn.
house you built is just like wallpaper of just nothing but the Last Supper.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Right. That's
But
a
I mean,
good
looking
idea,
back
Tom.
on that, now that was 60 years ago that we lived there.
Yeah.
But still, you have memories of your childhood living in 3 different houses in a 1.5 block area and knowing that there are pipe and knife fights and people trying to run each other with cars. And it makes me sad as hell. I mean, look, we were miserable then because we were very, very poor. But man, nobody attacked me with a pipe or a knife or tried to run me over with a car anyway.
I mean, honestly, the north side is one of these parts. I mean, it's plagued with problems.
Yep.
I'm surprised that the weaponry wasn't more intense than that it wasn't guns.
Yeah, true.
That's very true.
And I do believe, and I this is like I'm becoming that old man who this is my rant that I just do all the time. I just don't think anybody has respect for other people's life anymore.
No, you're right.
I don't know if we've become culturally numb or we're so used to interaction being over a screen or on our phone or what it is. But I just don't, or social media amping up glamorizing violence. I don't know what it is, but I just don't think people have the same respect for other people that a lot of us did when we were growing up. And I think
you're
adults are falling into that same category now too.
Oh, maybe even worse.
Maybe even
sometimes.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear stuff coming out of people's mouths where I'm like, what, why in the world are you so angry? And it's weird.
Yeah, just thinking back, running around that neighborhood at night, I was, like I said, 12 years old. I don't think I turned 13 yet, but I might have. I don't remember exactly, but we used to run around the streets in that neighborhood, and it was not the wealthiest neighborhood in the world. And, we were very, very poor. There's no question about that. But still, that happening in a place you used to live it's really hard to take, thinking back on all that.
Yeah, there was another story about, I don't remember what high school it was. It might have been Central, where there was a huge fight, and they were just kicking the crap out of these kids. And I never saw a fight in high school.
I bet
Not
not.
one.
I didn't even.
I remember maybe somebody, yelled at somebody, but you just didn't see it.
Yeah, and people think that it's maybe a specific type of high school, but there's like what was it, Wayzata and Hopkins, like their
Wayzata,
basketball
Hopkins.
team.
Yeah, I watched that.
something like that. Yeah, like this.
What?
There was
What
a
happened?
huge altercation.
So I think it was maybe a couple weekends ago or a couple Fridays ago. Hopkins, Wayzata, two top teams were playing each other in Hopkins. Came down to they might have gone to overtime, and it came down to a controversial call, and Wayzata lost. Hopkins won. The Wayzata team, I don't believe, shook hands with Hopkins as they were walking off the court.
Their coach told the players no, we're not doing this. Get off the court, and told them not to shake hands. Yeah.
And
really?
then they went, and the Wayzata players, to get to their locker room, it was back by the student section of Hopkins High School, and there were a crap ton of kids there, and the Wayzata kids were walking out, and then all these Hopkins kids were rushing right at them and talking smack, and it got
Garbage can.
yeah, through a garbage can. I'm surprised it didn't get more physical than it did, honestly, because it was very close. And that's been dissected and debated about how that was handled. People are wondering why Hopkins didn't have more people there, or why the school didn't have more people there to control a crowd. Why did the Wayzata coach, tell them not to shake hands? Why couldn't they just handle it
Right.
be good sports? The whole thing was pretty. There's lots of ugliness to go around. But to your point, Tevin, that stuff's not exclusive to urban schools. That's for sure.
No.
I'd like to point out that kitty over your left shoulder, right behind you, Chris, is meowing at me. Your left shoulder. There you go. Meow, back of there meowing. Tom's a candy ass. I heard it.
I didn't know she was back there. Yeah,
Bad kitty on the counter. Bad kitty.
My other two, my dogs are sitting right over there, and I can't believe they haven't barked yet. This is the joy of doing this from home now. So
I know, it's wonderful. It's great that you can do it. We do need to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Eggert, sponsored by Josh Arnold, Mr. Josh Arnold. Hell of a guy. We'll be right back right after this. More with Chris and Tevin and the family right after this. For Brad, John Bryant, Michael Bryant. Michael, what's up?
Dealing with another case where a person gave a statement to the adjuster because they thought the person was really friendly.
Is that a good idea?
Well, the problem is they know the law when they call you up. And while you're trying to be fair and you're trying to get help, the reality is there are questions you get asked that the way you answer them make a big difference. And people put themselves in trouble. And when they aren't in trouble, they didn't do anything wrong, but suddenly the adjuster's got a statement that can blow up their case completely.
What has caused people to be so untrustworthy, I guess is the best way I could put it? They take advantage.
Well, insurance companies have hired adjusters whose job it is to deal with unrepresented people. So they're supposed to kind of lure them in, call them every day, see how they're doing. And people are like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Where the reality is they've kind of adjusted to their problem that they've got going on. So it's not that they're completely better, but the way they say it gets to be a problem. And that's why having somebody who can explain your rights, represent you, make sure that you understand the law before you give a statement can make a big difference in your case.
Michael Bryant, Bradshaw and Bryant.
Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, can sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Eggert, sponsored by Josh Arnold. And by the way, your kitty must have been listening to the show and anticipated what was coming up next.
Uh-oh.
Took off now, but this is I am not making this up. This is on the front page of the Wise Brothers News, wisebrother.com. Cat reunites with family after surviving 3 weeks trapped in a sofa on a cross-country move. A cat was in the sofa for 3 weeks.
Oh, they
something
were
Hobbs
waiting
would've
under
done.
there. Yes.
I'll buy that. I will buy that.
Yep.
But 3 weeks?
We've moved a cat across the country well, I moved a cat across the country and the cat was messed up like forever after that. But I had it in a traveling cage or whatever. But we did thank you, Catherine. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Words are hard.
We had it in a rectangle formed box. We moved across. This is when we lived in Omaha. My wife and I moved maybe like 5 blocks away from a different place. It was like no big deal. It was a pretty short move. The cat got into this townhouse we were in, and it was so freaked out. The freaking cat did not come out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They can be very, very, and smart because that's how they have all these lives, because they know how to use the one they have very wisely.
They go into hibernation mode or
Yeah,
something.
they sure do.
Yeah, how do they survive without water for all that time?
Cats can survive a very long time without water. They're desert animals, so
Oh,
they're designed for it.
Chris, I love having you on because I bring up the news headlines and having a news guy on. Is this true? JetBlue will reimburse travelers if it rains on your vacation. That's a hell of a promise. Think
Quite
about
a gamble, I would say.
Yeah.
that is really.
What if I go to like
Interesting.
Seattle?
I haven't. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No matter what, there seems like there's probably lots of asterisks.
that. You think so? Yes.
Yeah,
Buy the
you know-
insurance policy. Yeah.
Yes,
something.
like
yeah.
those. I've been looking for airfare lately for different things, and of course, because it's me, I'm looking for like the cheapest possible airfare. So
luck.
my algorithm is just pulling up all these like crazy sites that aren't real, or all these like dumb offers and you're like, oh my god, look at this! 5 of us can fly for free like 9 times out of 10, there's some kind of stipulation down there
Yeah.
that it like makes it completely impractical.
Oh,
You have
okay.
to buy into it.
Yes.
Literally, in this case, you have
Yeah.
to
Oh,
buy,
you've got to buy their
you have
like.
to buy excessive rain insurance.
Ah, see, I
Oh.
knew it.
And it's not just rain, it's excessive rain. So it has to be higher than normal at a certain threshold.
Oh.
And if that happens, then you get reimbursed. You still get to take the trip, but you just get to do it for free. And,
Why would you, as a you said this is JetBlue.
mhm.
It's
Like,
just
why would you even have this? I can already hear all the phone calls and people angry because the percentage of rain was like
Yep.
1% lower
you
than what it
read-
needed to
Oh,
be to
yeah.
pay out, and now everybody's mad. Like, this is just.
Did you read the fine print? Did you read the fine print?
Tevin, I think you're right, but I think you're not looking at it from a marketing standpoint. Here we are talking about JetBlue, and
Yeah.
yesterday we weren't talking about JetBlue, and if that gets X amount of people to hop on the JetBlue website and price an airline ticket some way, then I guess it was, an idea that maybe has some complexity, but it got some interest generated.
Yeah. And then also, when you're talking about cheap airline tickets, it's like by the time you buy a seat
Well, that's
Oh, God,
yeah.
yeah.
and
Pay
some
extra
oxygen
for-
to breathe.
Cheap
and,
these
you know,
days is like $500.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no
It's
question
insane.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're coming down. You're going to visit us in like 3 weeks, and a little over 3 weeks. Well, 4 weeks, I guess it is.
Yeah, about a month.
About a month. Alex called and said she bought her tickets for 2 adults, 2 children. The cheapest tickets she could find were $4,000, $1,000 a piece.
Shut up! Oh my God!
$1,000 a piece because it's right in the middle of that
Yeah.
spring. Let's go to warmer weather season.
Well, Andy is much better at finding cheap tickets than Alex.
Well, that's true. That is true.
That's when you get on the bus, or we getting in the car.
Yeah,
because
for
this
real.
is For
Right.
4,000, I'm driving.
4,000. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah,
bought
well-
ours many months ago because you
That's
have
what
to.
you have to do,
You do.
If you're
especially in
within
Florida.
3 months of the flight, the prices are going to go up probably like
Mhm.
5 times.
And is
Right.
it true if you go to the airport and like you can buy tickets for in the future, like at the counter, and it's like circumvents a lot of the fees, so it's a little bit cheaper.
Oh,
well.
really?
I did not know
The
that.
Russia did that, Tevin. I know you had Jason on not that long ago.
Oh, Jason's a great
He-
guy. Yep.
He went out and specifically did that for Sun Country, and he did save some money because if you go out there directly and buy it from the person right there at ticketing, it did circumvent some of the fees. So, I mean, if you got the
Fees
time
are
to do
huge.
that, you obviously have to pay a little bit to park, but if you can get in and out quickly, and it's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, we're talking about that, I guess, last week's show. I think it was last week. All the good people. I mean, we were talking about Chad Hartman and Jason DeRusha and you and a bunch of different people. Media is pretty damn nice in the state of Minnesota, don't you think?
Maybe too nice at some time.
You think? Why
Well,
too nice?
I do think, I agree with you. I think that the competitive nature that it used to be so long ago, like you wouldn't even talk to somebody from the other TV
Oh, yeah,
station. Or,
that's true.
I hate them, and I think there's a little more camaraderie with people in the industry now
Seems to be.
because we're all, those of us who've been around it long enough, you have respect for other people who've also been around long enough and you know what it takes to do that. But B, I think we're all sort of doing our best to keep our craft relevant, and
Yeah, good
no
point.
matter what it is, and if we can all be as good as we possibly can and be the best representative of the industry, then I think it helps everybody too. So I don't know that it's beneficial to go around being a lunatic asshole. I mean, maybe to some extent,
Right.
but I just don't. Maybe that's what we should be doing more of to try to pull and move more viewers, to just be a raging jerk. But
Yeah, just start throwing papers around and screaming. See what happens.
Chris just calling out the other networks in town. He's an ass. He's an ass.
Well, I'll tell you, when I first got into business when I was 18 years old, it was like that. You didn't go anywhere near the competition back in those days.
yeah, no,
That is true.
When I was starting out too, it was definitely that way, and it was a rarity where even when you're in the field, this happens a lot, and I think it might be a little more competitive in the field when you're a field reporter
Yeah.
and you show up on the scene of something, and it's like a breaking news or a spot news situation where you are jockeying for position out there to get the information first. I think that's probably can be a little more spirited and competitive, but back in the day, it was like combat with these people if you guys are out in the same place.
Oh,
It's like-
there's one guy left, and I haven't seen him in years now, but the last time I did see him, there's one guy left. He will not come near me if we happen to be in the same place at the same time. He just, he just won't do it. He's a morning FM radio guy, and he will not have anything to do with me. It's like, would you calm down?
Well, I remember back in the day, there'd be people that because you said something bad about their favorite football player or basketball player,
Yeah.
they hated you forever.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
that's just how some people are.
I suppose. I don't know. It's like, settle down for God's sake. That didn't really happen in TV news. I mean, first of all, I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass here. I'm totally serious. News anchors in this town, whether it was the Majors brothers or you or Don Shelby, and I could go down the whole list. News anchors have always been pretty decent, haven't they?
Well, I think that maybe the anchors in this town fall into a certain. They're looking for. Honestly, ever since I've ever heard of television up here, it was always like try to be like Majors, or like there was sort of this
Yes,
benchmark.
Yep.
Or Shelby, and so then you sort of wonder if culturally that's the kind of people that people here prefer to watch, or B, if because those guys' legacy was so rich that
Yes.
those are the kinds of people that the managers at the organizations are trying to hire. But
Yeah.
I will tell you.
Has there been, Chris, like in television, like obviously like Tom, when you and Howard Stern had kind of the back and forth in radio, that was one thing.
There's no back and forth. There was
Well, I
just
guess
back.
he went at you and then, you just kind of did your business until
I
he
ignored him.
effed off. Chris, has there been a like TV beef? Like I always think of the movie The Ugly Truth, where it's like, okay, we do our show, we watch them, and now we got to beat them. Has there been any kind of publicized beefs like that?
Well, not publicized that I'm aware of, but it's definitely. I don't want to downplay it. Like it's definitely a competitive. I mean, in fact, I just got out of a meeting that I had to leave early, and I actually wanted to be in there because we were talking about viewership and who's watching and when they're watching and why they're watching and demographic breakdown and certain times like that. There's a lot of data points that I think are really interesting. And we, at the end of the day, we are competing against each other because we're competing for advertising dollars. I just don't think the public beef is there maybe like it used to be back in the day. I also think that gets glamorized a little bit too. Like that, I won't even watch the show. I started watching 10 minutes of it and I was like, this is so dumb. The morning show on Apple.
Yep.
Jennifer
Aniston. I started watching that and I'm like, oh my God, this is so phony. So I don't know. I think there's something there, but on the other hand, I think that gets glamorized a lot more than what it is in real life.
All right. Well, I'll close the segment with this because it's the only time a television news anchor ever made me tear up was Dave Moore. I'm playing in some pickup softball game for, I don't know, some charity or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of looking down at reading something, and this guy walks up, and I look up, and it's Dave Moore. And I stand up, and I shake hands with him. He goes, this is really cool. I said, yeah, it is really cool. He goes, it's so nice to meet a legend.
Yeah.
I literally teared up. I was like, don't say that. I mean, Dave Moore was
a legend. Yeah.
Dave Moore is one of the greats of all time in any market. He was offered CBS, but he turned him down. Did you know that?
I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
no, he was great.
They were offered CBS anchor on national television. He said, nope, I like my job here at WCCO.
Huh.
But this market also, I got to be honest with you, there are not a lot of bad news people in the Twin Cities market. The TV news people have always been very, very good, don't you think?
I do think so. I do also think there is a lot of criticism from the public on certain issues.
Oh, really?
That we're not pressing hard enough. We're not pressing certain politicians hard enough. We're doing our jobs, but we're not really doing our jobs. And that
yes.
And a lot of that comes from social media. And I think I think there might be some truth to that, having worked in different places around the country. But I think that's more of a cultural thing. I just think people here aren't as frontal when it comes to confronting people about stuff. And I think that is the same way that like news organizations would confront government officials, or there are certain places where I've worked where it has been more adversarial. And
definitely.
And so I don't know if that's a cultural thing or if that's sort of the people who were. I mean, I can say that consistently that it's probably been that way here for a long, long time. And again, other parts of the country, some of the media is a little bit more aggressive, but I don't know. I don't know that people here really want that.
But don't you think too that the Democrats have been in power for so very long in Minnesota that if you start pushing on certain things, they're just not going to talk to you.
I do.
Shut out.
That's true.
I do. And that doesn't mean the pushing shouldn't be done. But it is. I think that's a fantastically great point, Catherine. Why you like? Well, we know we're going to go and show up, and we're going to confront them about this. Well, then expect to be cut out of XYZ because they're pissed at you because you were there actually asking the question, and that's a complexity I don't think that people always think about. Still doesn't mean it shouldn't be done, though, right?
Right, but you're not going to get any news if you try to get
them. But and I know you guys are trying to be done with me, but another aspect to that I don't think people always think about anymore is that one of the biggest advantages that we have as the media is access to people. Mm-hmm. It's access to politicians. Mm-hmm. It's to be able to show up somewhere and the expectation that we can ask them questions and we can question them about XYZ. I don't know. I started seeing it happen before COVID, but it definitely during COVID, it became a one-way conversation where that conversation was just a talking point coming out of the public official's mouth. And there was no opportunity to ask follow-up questions. There was no opportunity for us to show up. There was no opportunity to get that access to be able to do our jobs properly. And I think that's still a problem to this day, in my opinion.
No question. Okay, before you leave, I was going to do this after the break, but you have to leave now, I understand, so I'll do it now.
He's got a kitty to feed.
He's got a kitty to feed. Certain people, they're honest and really decent people. Well, there's a guy on the show right now. I will tell you, a few weeks ago, I got a call from Tevin Pittman. He said, Tom, I got something in the mail that's yours, and what do you want me to do with it? I can just, tear it up and throw it away, or I can do whatever. Tevin, you know how few people would have done what you did.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in, and I don't want to take all the credit. I was standing in line at the bank. And they're like, "Hey, I listened to the show. I thought you weren't on it anymore. So should you really be having this?" And I was like, "You're right. Let me contact Tom."
But no, people need to understand there are still really good people in the world, and Tevin Pittman is one of them. You're a very honest man. You always have been, Tevin.
Yay, Tevin.
I tried. I was like, I even thought about it like a couple days before. I was like, "Oh, I should text him because maybe he forgot to cancel it or whatever because he's got a million things going on." And then it just slipped my mind, and I saw it. And I was like, "Oh, let me shoot him a."
It was unbelievable. It was very, very nice. So it's nice to be surrounded by decent, honest people. No
Nice
question
work,
about it.
Kevin. You passed you passed the truth test, my man.
Exactly right. So Chris, brought to you by Josh Arnold. I love Tuesday shows now because you come on and we talk about the news, but it never gets, well, today's news wasn't really heavy except for me bringing up that battle in North Minneapolis, but it does break my heart. That's the other thing. I lived in that neighborhood for the first 25 years, almost 30 years of my life. Not 25 years. It's a really, really, and like I said, it was never even keel and, it was never Edina. Let me put it that way. It wasn't like that. But it just to go through that kind of thing and see that stuff going on, it makes me very, very sad.
Understandable.
So, all right, we will talk to you again next Tuesday, I hope.
All right, you guys, have a good week.
Bye.
We'll take a break, be right back, wrap things up right after this.
Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Sometimes the anxiety for wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? My guy, Josh Arnold, Mr. Money Talk, will sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk. Never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. Set up your free 48-minute no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608. Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC Security Investment Advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments must involve risk. You know that. All comments and opinions of Josh Arnold do not constitute investment advice. I am a paid endorser. I'm talking with my friends Michael Bilski and Brad Huckle of North American Banking Company. Guys, business owners have had to deal with a lot over the last few years, haven't they?
They sure have, Tommy. We pride ourselves on being able to help our customers with the challenges they face.
Our business bankers are experts and are always ready to help our customers capitalize on opportunities and solve problems.
Loan decisions come quickly because they're made here in the Twin Cities and not shipped out of state like at some of the national banks in town.
This allows our customers to expand their businesses with confidence, knowing that they have our team of experts in their corner.
Okay, so now you give me this big thing at the end. Way to go.
Well, you are the professional.
Oh, I forgot. Look, I know Brad and Mike, and I trust them with my banking. They've personally delivered on everything they've just said, so why not bank with my banker? North American Banking Company, a better banking experience, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
rocking out now. Andy's rocking out. There's
Speed
no question
demon.
about it.
So you had a question earlier today
What was the question?
about which politician decided that women are not going to be referred to as inseminated persons.
Do you guys know about this? The two of you, Andy and Tevin.
Inseminated
What?
person.
No,
This is a true
Okay.
story. She's not making this. This was on the national news.
Wisconsin governor,
Oh, Jesus.
Governor Tony Evers, gave the state legislature budget recommendations that replace wife and husband with spouse. Father is going to be parent, and most notably, mother is going to be inseminated person. And or parent who gave birth to the child.
Oh gosh.
So now Ethan's going to have to call Melissa, inseminated person.
Inseminated person.
What happened to people? Are they
And
insane?
you are now a parent. You are not a father. You're not dad. You have to be.
But like, I mean, I guess like if it was,
No, there's no justifying this, Tevin.
But, like,
None. You can't even. There's nowhere to reach.
Wisconsinite.
There's nowhere to go inside a mind that works properly
only-
to find any reason for any of this BS.
I feel like the only application would be if it was like a lesbian couple, and you're trying to distinguish like which one birthed a child.
Yeah, I
Well, then
guess
that's
that would make
between the two
sense.
of them.
But I don't think like it's something that needs to be.
Why don't you use like
Like-
a non-gross language? Say like
Yeah.
life giver or something like that. That sounds cool.
Because it's all stupid.
Inseminated
It's
person.
and it's so insulting to women. It's so insulting to women.
Oh, these
Are you kidding me?
I know.
Not to
I mean,
mention
this
gay
is
men can be
what
inseminated
governors
persons.
spend their time on. Come
Yeah.
on.
That's yeah.
And money. And money.
Right, because somebody's got to get paid now to go back and change all the paperwork and all the.
Well, yeah, no.
whatever
Apparently, they
else.
had to go back and change like hundreds and hundreds of examples of names,
Oh god.
and then you have to read through it all to make sure you didn't miss any from typos or something like that.
I no. I'm not. No. No one's calling me an inseminated person. So am I an inseminated person forever because I had children?
How many months inseminated are you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, God, it sounds like a bad sitcom.
It's insane. It really is insane.
Oh, come on already. So
It's
anyway,
specifically sections 3105 and 3106, which is a Wisconsinite, you know, those are about the artificial insemination law. So yeah, apparently it's specifically because we're talking about artificial insemination and, you know, trans men with uteruses can be inseminated and therefore they're not mothers, but still.
so they can call
inseminated
themselves
person
whatever
is-
they want.
Yeah, that's true. How about mom and dad? That works for me.
Well, how about just pregnant?
Right. I don't care if you call yourself Cheshire and yogurt. Like you could.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as like okay, you gave birth and everything. Like who cares what you're.
Yeah, we have a
called
word
on
for
these days.
pregnant, and that
Right.
word is pregnant. We don't need to come
It's
up
true.
with weird new speak.
Okay, I'm going to play my mother, and then Catherine's going to say to me what I should be called, but I'll be my mother because I guarantee you this is what she would have done. Go ahead.
What am I? I don't
Call
get my
me.
role.
Call me the name.
Oh, inseminated person.
Well, she would not have liked that at all, at all. So, Tevin,
No.
is there any chance you can make it in on Tuesdays for a while?
Yeah, I can be on Tuesdays for a while.
Because
guys
that's a
tired
good
of me?
combo. You and Chris together is a really good combo.
Oh, we need
yeah.
to talk about your restaurant journey someday.
Oh yeah, once
a little bit
once
more
we get
time.
more
Been a
report on
journey.
that. But I wanted to ask, did you guys? So Catherine and Andy, and I guess the rest of the Brant Bernard family, did you guys understand? Like I know Tom, Hall of Fame radio, that's super cool. You played the initials game. I'm
Yes.
driving in my car.
Shut up. Oh, boy, we
Oh,
got to go.
I only heard tell of this because I was down here in Florida working
And
on the
so
studio.
I
so-
love the initials game, but like it's very, very hard. They have a lot of like celebrities, whether it's local or national, that will come on, and nobody ever scores any points. So like
Oh.
it's just, but I'm listening to it, and I caught it in the middle, and I hear obviously Tom's voice, and I was like, oh, that voice kind of sounds familiar. Like,
Semi-familiar.
Oh, you didn't even know he was.
I didn't know it was him, and so he
Oh.
like keeps playing the game, and then you said something after the game, and I was like, oh yeah, that's one of your classic like phrases that you say. And
Mm-hmm.
then like, but just hearing you play the initials game, one, how was it? I know you didn't maybe perform as well as you would like,
Right.
did it feel as cool as I anticipated it would be feeling cool to play the initials game with all those guys?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I've known Meat Sauce since he was 16 years old. I loved being on the show. Everybody there could not have been nicer to me. They were every single. Well, maybe Marnie when she punched me after she won her first call. She punched me. So thanks a lot, Marnie. A pill. But what I did, and this was a mistake, but I thought it'd be a good idea, because in my head I had Just So, because it would JS were the two letters. You guess what the JS would be. I had Just So
and Jigsaw, right?
Jigsaw and Jessica Simpson. Those were the three I had, and none of them were used.
Did they ever do people's names?
Yeah, they do. People's names.
Not often, though, seems.
Yeah,
it's usually phrases and things, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what you said. You went jazz hands, man, at one point after it was done, and that's what gave it.
Oh no, it was jazz session.
Oh, there we go.
The answer was jam session. I think Meat Sauce said jazz session.
Yeah, Meat Sauce did. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah.
No, nicest people in the world, though. They're huge fans of this show, and we're huge fans of their show, and it's how business should be.
Yeah.
Everybody hanging together, having a great time, and I had a really good time. But again, I've known Meat Sauce since he was 16, so he worked at a cigar store out in Minnetonka, and I used to go in there.
I remember. What was the name of it? You used to go there all the time.
I used to go there all the time. Yeah.
Stogies.
It was owned by a couple of guys from North Minneapolis, as a matter of fact. That's why I started going there. Friends of my brother Troy.
What was it
Was it
called?
Minnetonka? I thought it was in Minneapolis.
No, it was in Minnetonka.
Oh,
but I
or
can't.
St. Paul. There was another one.
There was another one in St. Paul.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
there
the
was.
St. Paul one. That's right.
They were.
The St. Paul Cigar Club or whatever.
Yeah, women
right?
couldn't be in there during certain hours.
It's inseminated person.
Inseminated persons couldn't be in there. It's true. Well, Tevin, now you're never getting rid of me. You made a huge mistake.
I'm grossed out now.
Should have never
forever.
made the call.
I'm grossed out forever now.
All right.
Thanks, Governor of Wisconsin.
Tevin, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be here.
All right, Andy, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot
Yep.
for listening.
Bye.
Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talking